What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fight Network's Downtown Studios. John Ramdeen alongside Robin Black. Yesterday, the UFC held Media Day as we were getting set for the big card going down at the Air Canada Centre on Saturday night. UFC 206, Anthony Pettis, Max Holloway, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. What were some of your takeaways? You had a chance to talk to a number of fighters and coaches at the Media Day. Anything revealing?
Yeah, it was spectacular. Is there such a thing as a fight boner? Is there such a thing?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a thing. It was pretty spectacular. Dwayne Ludwig, we'll get that up on our YouTube channel and on FightNetwork.com. I had a long sit down with him, which was fascinating. It was great to, I correspond a ton with Cub Swanson, chat with him often, and have enjoyed breaking down his work for years. It's great to meet him in person. I never had before. He thinks and speaks calmly and analytically, but as an artist, just like you would think. But Dooho Choi was fascinating. He's a cold dude, man. He is an ice cold cat.
And I'm told, according to the translator, that you have a huge following in South Korea.
So the South Korean media came up to me and with a deep bow said, "You are the world's foremost expert in Choi Dooho." And I said, "Thank you." I was honored and humbled and a little embarrassed, and it was cool. But then, upon meeting Choi, he turned to the translator, he smirked, and he said something, and the translator said, "He says you have many, many fans in Korea." And then we looked on the internet, and there's millions of translated 5 rounds and breakdowns and stuff. It's wild. But he is a brilliant martial artist, and you can see it. There was apparently some loss in the translation, sure, according to some friends of mine that speak fluent Korean. But he talked about, among other things, he talked about how, as an amateur, he had that fear and that hesitation and was mentally somewhat weak. So he used his amateur experience to change himself in such a way that he would never have that again as a professional. And you could feel it just laser
you really
sharp.
Could. You look at this room, because we're in a room full of a lot of experienced veterans, and for him to be sitting there very, very calm, taking in this whole process, didn't look like there's any panic. It really felt like this is a place that he belongs.
Yeah, very much so. And we have been, calling his fights and analyzing his fights since he was 19 or 20, you and I. So we've got to watch him grow up and watch him develop. And he's always been this way, but it is sort of multiplying. The level of his ability to just cut through the BS, that in a fight, you see it. You see the way all the noise is irrelevant to him. It's about that one moment. And he seemed to carry that into speaking with you, into doing the media, sitting there ice cold, just giving you the, cutting through the BS and giving you the goods. This is somebody to watch for sure. I told the Korean media that I wouldn't be surprised if he was the featherweight champion of the world by the end of 2018, and you can take that one to the bank.
And what do you think that he needs to do there? When you look at the top of the division, of course, Holloway and Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo, who knows if Conor McGregor decides to come back to 145 pounds. We also have Frankie Edgar there. You saw how good Jeremy Stevens looked. Mm-hmm. When you look at the deep talent pool that is the featherweight division in the UFC, what steps does Dooho Choi need to take? Of course, first step is look impressive against Cub Swanson on Saturday.
Yeah, and just wanting that fight was the first step. Then you get it, and you go in and you compete in that moment, and you win or you lose. And whichever way that fork in the road goes sets your path. If you lose, you know how close you were. You know the changes that need to be made. You tasted it. You felt the texture of a fight like that, and you make those changes. And it'll be an important turning point if he loses this fight on Saturday night. And if you win that fight, well, God bless you. You get to fight somebody even tougher. Are you ready for that? Do you become even better? Do your systems optimize even smoother? It's been a fascinating couple of days because we've been on this trip of trying to see the future. It isn't about who they are right now and what they're going to do today and on Saturday night, but what these fighters will become in the future. And maybe later on today, in another spot, we'll talk about Max Holloway. He's another one of these guys. Once you start to see that it isn't what these fighters are now, they're not a fixed thing. They're not robots. This isn't Dungeons and Dragons. They don't have permanent attribute scores. It is what they are becoming is what's fascinating. And Dooho Choi is going to become something very, very special. He already is.
He is something special to watch, but what I really, thinking about his future and the idea of he hasn't really been in bad spots in the UFC. What happens? How will he respond when he deals with a big, strong guy? Like, for example, Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes taking you down, being on top of you. What type of fighter will he be after dealing with somebody like that? How will he be after going 15 hard minutes with somebody competing at the highest level? How will he respond?
You are right. These things have to happen still. That Cub Swanson is the first, and it's, like I said, it's that fork in the road, win or lose, how that goes. But his path involves all of those tests. He's fortunate, well, we're fortunate we got to see it. He's fortunate that he had these tests, some of these tests at a 90th percentile level in Japan. He faced tough wrestlers. He lost a fight. He was pushed to the limits, 15 minutes of hell, and still won. We've seen him in those spots, but the level goes up. You tasted the 90th percentile. Chad Mendes would represent the 98th or 99th percentile. You have to acclimatize yourself and get used to that and be able to handle it and go beyond it. That's what his path is in front of him, and he's ready for it. Philosophically, he looks at the world as a journey, and that is exactly what he needs to do. But his destination is the featherweight champion of the world one day, within 2 or 3 years.
And what about for Cub Swanson? What's an interesting thing that Max Holloway said is, I don't look at my records. I believe that I'm going into this fight fresh. I'm an 0-0 fighter, and the most important fight is this fight so I can become 1-0. For Cub Swanson, he's been in this game for so long. He clearly is a martial artist. This is a journey. He's on this specific path. Most fighters want to become a fight champion. For a guy like Cub Swanson, is it just bout after bout, learn new things every time you step inside of the cage?
I think it's for him, it's the pleasure of the moment. And those guys are very dangerous. Those guys ruin your dreams. Those guys stop your path. On any given night, wherever your path is winding or whatever your development is happening, you meet a Cub Swanson who in that present moment is the better man than you. He can do that on any night, and he loves that. His journey is the journey of an artist, of growth and experience and gathering knowledge and becoming better. His body are his instruments, and his mind, and he's becoming better. And at any moment along that journey, he stops in a cage and has 15 or 25 minutes of beautiful violence, and that's what he loves. And in those times, he can beat you.
A very important fight between Cub Swanson and Dooho Choi at 145 pounds. Robert and I get the sense that Dooho Choi will challenge for the UFC Featherweight Championship sometime in the future.